Okay, let's see what we have here. And, alright, I think we want to keep this and hope that Chalice on 1 is good against our opponent. There's a lot of decks that just have a huge problem with Chalice. And then there's some that don't really care about it, so it's a bit of a gamble. For Boding Ruins, okay, officially don't know what's going on. And in this type of situation, kind of have a problem with second guessing myself, just not knowing what our opponent's on. I think we still play the Chalice on 1 and hope that it's good against whatever our opponent may be playing. And okay, so our opponent's just gonna flat out concede game 1 to the Chalice. So this is a weird spot because we don't know what our opponent's playing at all, and that's one of the advantages to just conceding in this type of situation. It conceals our opponent's deck, so we really don't know how to sideboard at all. Foreboding Ruins, not a card you typically see in Modern. What we do know is that our opponent conceded to the Chalice of the Void, so it's pretty likely that Chalice is good against our opponent if they're just going to be conceding to a Chalice on 1. The question is, can we actually sideboard? Do we have enough information to go off of in order to sideboard? Now, our opponent is pretty unlikely to be playing a graveyard deck with Foreboding Ruin, so maybe we can just take out these Relic of Progenituses. But it's kind of a guessing game. I'm gonna board in the Hangerback Walkers because I think there's a lot of like black-red mid-rangey decks out there. But this is a bit of a gamble. I'm gonna board in the Hangerbacks and a Wormcoil Engine. If we do end up losing this game 2, we'll likely have a lot better idea of what's going on in the matchup. And we're certainly going to be mulliganing this. If this was a 6-card hand with, say, 1 less of these spells, but still the Expedition map, I would keep, but that is not the case. So we have the Chalice again. It was apparently really good in the last game, since that was all she wrote. So I'm going to go ahead and keep. We're looking for lands to be able to get these big creatures into play. And it looks like Lava Claw Reacher. So our opponent's probably playing a black-red mid-range deck of some sort. I mean, it's unlikely our opponent has Colligan's Command, though, in their deck, because if they had K Command, why would they just concede to Chalice on 1? So, likely a deck with discard spells, I would guess. And likely straight black-red. No other colors involved, considering the lands we've seen. Here, we have the ability to Tron up on turn 3, so I think I'm going to do that rather than playing the Chalice. I like this because in case our opponent has artifact removal, we definitely want to be able to crack this Expedition map. And we have 2 Chalices, so if our opponent plays a discard spell to get rid of 1, we still have a second one. Okay, so this is what's going on. Here's Blood Moon. Well, all of a sudden the Tron, having Tron becomes completely irrelevant. So that was our game plan. Now, we can get a copy of Waste. We already have one in hand as well. So we have no way to get the Blood Moon off the table, at least right now. So we're going to have to try to win through it. It is going to mean that our opponent on board has no black mana. Maybe they have a swamp in hand. I'm going to play the Chalice on 1. Hopefully our opponent has more lightning bolts in hand. We already saw one. And our opponent pretty aggressively used it too, just going ahead and bolting us to the face. And here's a mountain, so our opponent without black mana, but here's Crumble to Dust. Okay, so that's gonna strip us of Tron permanently for the rest of the game. Now that being said, the fact that our opponent had to destroy the tower and couldn't go after our waste is huge, because if Crumble to Dust was any land, our opponent could just Crumble to Dust, target waste, take this other waste out of our hand, and we basically couldn't win from that situation. But now we're losing one of our lands. It's more or less a Stone Rain, and not even necessarily as good as Stone Rain. But that being said, we still have very little going on. We need to draw a number of consecutive lands in this spot. We do have this Hangerback Walker in hand. So, So, yep, I'm going to go ahead and play this Hangerback Walker out. Even though it's only for 1, it's going to have a converted mana cost of 2 when casting it. So the Chalice isn't going to counter our own Hangerback Walker. The only issue with this is if our opponent does have a burn spell, we're not going to get as much value out of it as we would like, but still, it's in play, so it's now our primary win condition. We have the option of playing Chalice for 2, but I think I'm just going to take this turn to level up this Hangerback Walker. If our opponent had a relevant 2-mana card, likely it would have already been cast at this point. And now we can unload this Reality Smasher and start getting aggressive. Our opponent might have something like a Terminate in hand, but their mana is constricting the ability to cast Terminate if they had something like that. And there's the swamp, so that may turn on removal spells in our opponent's hand. I would not be surprised if that were the case here. So I'm just going to get in with the Smasher. If our opponent kills it, they kill it, And interesting, our opponent's not doing anything. It's a little bit scary, but I have a feeling we're just going to win, but you never know when you're playing against a deck that you've never played against before, but that is going to be the match.